Fanfiction.
So I was at the Indian Grand Prix the first year. I think was it 2011?
Yeah, 11, 12, and 13.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think it was either the first year or the second year. He said, yeah, just do you want to come to the after party? And I said,
Right.
yeah, okay. I said, who's playing? He said, oh, it's Lady Gaga. I said, wow. I said, yeah, we spent a lot of money bringing it to Delhi to the Grand Prix. I said, you can come as my guest. I said, how many passes do you want? I said, oh, have you got 6? He said, yeah, no problem. We'll give you 6 passes. So I went to see all my work colleagues. This is when it was Sutton Images. And I asked them, would you like to come to the concert? And he went, none of them went, yes. They all said no.
Really?
What?
I was just so surprised. So I ended up inviting some of my Indian colleagues, and they took me there. They took me home afterwards because I was a bit drunk, probably. And the guy said to me, he said, bring your camera. So I was able to take pictures right at the front with my camera as well, professional pictures.
Right.
She was amazing, absolutely amazing. But it was like a private concert for like
Right.
500 people. I think they spent $1 million. Wow, it's crazy.
That's
money.
awesome.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that was a great opportunity. You can't miss those things. Like, those pictures went all over the world afterwards. So yeah, those sort of opportunities. And then, like I was saying before, we talked about Prince. I was on stage with Prince in I think this was 2000. I think this was 2011 or 12. I think it might have been 11. And we'd gone to the concert. I had some wristbands, a bit similar to this carbon fiber bracelet.
Right.
And we'd gone to the front. We're at the front, and we're just having a nice drink and chilling to the music. And then Prince said, "Does anybody want to come on stage?" And I was like shocked. And I looked at my friend who's a VA pilot, and I said, "Did he really just say that?" He said, you got to remember, there's like thousands of people even at the front, and we literally just dropped our beers on the floor, ran to the front, and then just jumped over the barrier, and then we're at the front. We're on stage. We're literally in front of him, and I couldn't believe it. And I think it was about the iPhone. I think it was the iPhone 3 at that point. It was like iPhone 3 or 4. I can't remember. Anyway, I shot some video. I did some stills. And we were up there for about 3 songs dancing. And I kept getting,
awesome.
as I was taking pictures and videos, I kept getting all these messages coming through. What the hell are you doing on stage? Who's that? Why are you with Prince? You know, it was so funny. But and then there was like 35,000 people at the concert. It was crazy. But what a moment and experience, because obviously he passed away later on. Just to have been there. But the sad thing was, and my one guy will actually probably kill me if he knows the story anyway. But we had an editor, so the reason I could leave was we had an editor who did all the editing of the pictures, and we just give him our cards, and he'd do all the editing of the pictures, send them back to the office so we could carry on working. And he was the biggest Prince fan ever, and when he found out I was on stage, he wasn't very happy. He was still working on the computer, and I was on stage. That only had gone to the concert. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, those sort of moments that you treasure forever, and that's probably the 2 biggest, I say, pop moments, but certainly, crazy in my career that you got on stage and then you did that concert with Gaga. Yeah, that was amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
I'd imagine how that conversation went with your buddy. It'd be like, "Hey, what did you do over the weekend, Mark?" And I'd be like, nothing much. I just went on the stage with Prince and we had a dance.
I don't know whether he did it every concert. There was another concert. I went to a concert here when I used to live in Northampton, and it was Alexander O'Neill. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was a guy that was sort of around the 80s, 90s. He was a black singer, sort of sang quite a lot of soul and beautiful music. I loved his songs. And he came to Northampton, and we went as a Christmas party to Northampton for our works do. And he said, come on stage, but he hadn't agreed it with the management. And like, 50 people got on stage. Obviously, you've not agreed it. It's a bit dangerous because you could literally fall through the stage. Yep. But we were up there with Alexander O'Neill, and he's an amazing guy. He's now in his 50s, late 50s, nearly 60s. Yeah. Great singer. Wow. If you ever get a chance to see him, he's still alive. Alexander O'Neill.
Sure.
We'll
make it a point.
He's a great singer. A bit like Tony Hadley. Tony Hadley from Spandau Ballet was my sort of era. My era was the 80s, really. I was a bit of a new romantic. A bit of a DJ. I was a DJ at the local...
oh, really?
Yeah, well, not really a very good DVD. It was still vinyl, wasn't it? So I've still got my vinyl collection. Actually, I've still got all my my 12. I had a lot of 12-inch singles, and they're quite special to me. You know, they mean a lot. I've got a lot of limited edition 12-inch singles that I collected in the 80s, and it disappeared in the 90s when the CDs came out.
It's back now, though.
It's coming back.
I haven't bought any because I'm still waiting to buy a house. I'm looking to buy a house very soon, and
this one's got right to
I've actually in the garage here. I've got a stereo.
I've got one right here.
Yeah, well, you have. I can see it. Yeah, with a CD player, and it's got CD. It's got a rack system. It's got the full deck. It's even got cassette players, double cassette player.
Yeah.
It's an old stack system from the
early 90s. Right.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Pioneer.
Pioneer. Yeah.
Classic. So, yeah, we're diversifying from what the key thing is. I guess the photography.
No, this is fun.
This is fun. This is all good.
I've been around a long time, obviously from the 80s. I mean, my first just to start you off, really. I mean, I started. My brother was a keen amateur. My dad was an amateur as well, taking photos at Alton Park, where we used to live in Manchester. It's in Cheshire. And it's a very famous track. It had a race called the Gold Cup, which a lot of the Formula One drivers used to go to in the 60s and 70s. And Jim Clark and Graham Hill used to go there and compete.
Wow.
And then my dad used to take me to the races when I was a young boy. My mum was a nurse. And my dad used to get literally kicked out the house. Go and take the kids away for the weekend. I don't want to see them again. I mean, we used to come back, but so that was my thing really. So I got into motorsport really from buying little model cars, you know, in the little shop, and then racing along the ground. And then as I got older, my brother started to take pictures when he was 18 at the local track, and then I sort of saw him doing that. I've actually got one shot from 81 where I've got Senna. Senna's with his Formula 4 car, and I'm in the background. So there's that sort of history, and then I started taking pictures professionally. That was I was 16 in that photo, and then when I was 18, because you can't take pictures legally till you're 18 in front of the fence. So I took my first ever race taking photos was Alton Park, of course, the local track. My brother said, "Come down, just go out the back. I mean, nothing will happen. Go out the back and take some pictures. Just get some experience." And I was still at college at that point doing photography, and then. Believe it or not, Senna and Brundle crashed in front of me. So Senna did the same move like he did in Suzuka. He went down the inside. He went down the inside of Brundle, Martin Brundle, who's the commentator.
Yep. I was just gonna say it feels very weird when you say Brundle and Senna together crashed. It just like blows my mind.
So he went down the inside, and then Senna landed on top of Brundle's car, literally on top of his head almost. I mean, that's without the halo in those days.
Yeah.
You look at the pictures in black and white, and I've got them side by side. So, but I didn't have a camera with a motor drive.
Yes.
I had to take the picture and then wind it on to the next frame. So it was those days, and then you go back and process the black and white, and then you do. So, but they landed on top of each other, and I've got the shot afterwards of the car on top of the other car with Brundle and Senna just looking round the cars. And that was a great moment. It was, I mean, that was the start of my career. You got to imagine that taking those photos, not being out the back of the circuit, as my brother said, and nothing will ever happen. And those pictures are still used all over the world. I mean, Martin's still there, isn't he, in covering Formula One? So it's great to have that. Obviously, Ayrton's not there anymore, but we know the story of that. But 83 that was. So then 84, I worked in a studio in Manchester doing massive room sets. So I worked. Learning about lighting, learn about decorating, learning about everything really in life. And then 85, I joined my brother and we set up Sutton Photographic. That was the first name. And then from then it just grew really. I mean, I started doing national motorsport. So Formula 3, British touring cars, bit of Formula 3000, Formula Ford. And then I did Le Mans. I did Le Mans in 85. So I did 85 to 95 in Le Mans. I did 10 years of Le Mans. But my big break came in 92. So I'd done 6 years of national racing, learning my apprenticeship, learning how to take pictures, learning how to be a person, learning how to talk to people. And then really it was my big break in 92. We got a contract with a Japanese magazine where we had to provide them with the film. So it's still film. I had to give them the films and then they sent them back to Japan. They produced the magazine on the Wednesday after the Grand Prix, which is quite revolutionary. The films went back after practice Then the films went back after the race by courier.
That's interesting.
Courier back to Japan, pick the pictures, lay them out, produce the magazine on a Wednesday, and it was called F1 Week. So it was not a weekly magazine; it was every 2 weeks.
Right.
The Grand Prix. So we'd have one film for the Japanese magazine and then one film for Sutton. So we had one for each. So it was difficult to decide which one you were going to get. Because obviously, generally when you shoot in the start or the main race, you've got a long lens.
Yeah.
And that tends to be your main pictures. So when you had film, it was very difficult to choose. But, you'd pick, if it was the incident, you'd probably give it to the magazine. You knew you were going to get it back.
Right.
But obviously there was, we got all those films back eventually about 5 years later. But there's lots of images in there that were probably great for the archive. But they only saw the day of light in that magazine. But and then obviously 93, I took the famous picture of the flying fin.
Yeah.
And that was just a bit of luck, but also being in the right place at the right time. There was actually 10 of my colleagues with me, and I was the only one to get the picture. And it shot at 1/25th of a second, really slow speed. But I was doing a pan shot against the fence, and I didn't refocus. Just kept my finger on the button, got about 4 frames, and And the story goes then the film was processed overnight. We got it back in the morning, and then we were looking on the light box in the morning in the circuit, and my brother went, "Wow, that's amazing! It's the high, it's 25 feet in the air, whatever." And it wasn't that high. It was about 5-6 foot. But it was spectacular. It was pin sharp as well. And when you shoot at that speed, you're never sure whether the first one, the second one, or the third one might be sharp. It could be the one where he's going in the air. It could be the one where he's in the air or where he's going down.
Yeah.
And it was luckily the one where he's highest point.
And I think this was before autofocus, right? So you had to
it was autofocus, but I didn't use it for this shot because I was doing a pan shot against the fence and the curb. And actually, if you look in autocourse that year, my pictures are on the same page, two pictures, one on either page. And there's the pan shot of what I was doing on one side. And then there's the flying fin on the other. So it sort of proves the point, really. I've just got some people that have come back. I'm trying to do it softly. Anyway, so then they printed 3 things. So the 3 prints came back. I said, the lab can have 1.
Yeah.
But when they all came back, they came back together. And I showed Mika, went over straight away to show Mika. And his engineer came over and said, "We wondered why there was a blip on the telemetry." Back in 93, the computers. And they said, "There's a blip on the telemetry. We didn't see anything on TV. Now your picture proves that there was a blip. The reason was he went over the curb." And then actually, I found out later when he landed, he damaged the nose when he landed on the ground.
Right.
I didn't know that, but I met Mika about 3 or 4 years ago in Japan when we did the 25th anniversary. Said, "Oh yeah, damaged my front wing." And when they got back, all they cared about was the front wing. I said, "Well, you were about 6 foot in the air." He said, "Yeah, your picture proved it." And then after that, he signed it the flying fin.
Right.
And then he became literally the flying fin.
Yeah.
And I gave one to the lab, I gave one to Mika, and I've still got the 93 one signed by him. And the funny thing was, about 1 year later, that picture came up in an advertising. Not an advertising campaign, but an advertising like you do I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word. So when you send a brief out to the photographers,
right,
from an agency, they're going to put a load of pictures together of what they want, and what they'd included was my shot, the flying fin. So they wanted the photographers to repeat my picture, which I thought, that ain't going to happen. It might happen, but it won't happen exactly like that, from that angle, from that height.
Exactly.
But those moments, nobody else got it. The other 10 photographers looked round at each other, and I didn't say anything at that particular point. I knew I wasn't even sure I got it. So, And there's one guy I still speak to called Terry Griffin. He's an American photographer, lives in San Francisco. And he was next to me, actually. I didn't know. And he said, "Yeah, Mark, you got it. I didn't. I've got him on the ground." And that's it. And it was quite funny. And then, obviously, Sutton's got sold in 2017 to Motorsport Network. And I looked through the archive, and LAT do actually have a frame of the same shot.
Wow.
But they have it from above. And it means nothing from above, really.
Yeah.
All you see is the car.
That's right. You just see the car
floating in the air, but it's not got the height. So it's like a bit with rally. Think about rally photographers. If they shot them high up, you wouldn't get that height. So you want to be as low down as possible. And we were behind some advertising, behind a concrete block, and we were literally quite low. And then obviously the essence of the height is because we were quite low, and also because we were, behind a concrete wall. But yeah, that's probably one of my famous shots. I was going to change the background again, wasn't I? Back to us, all the photographers, and there they all are here. This is the background here is Jerez '97, when you had that famous moment with I didn't capture it, by the way. I wasn't in the right place.
Of course.
That's the thing about being a photographer.
You never captured, right?
No, well, your experience does help being in the right place at the right time. It's also about having the right lens, the right exposure.
Yes.
There's lots of things to think about, but the experience does help. I mean, having 30 years of experience like I've got, a lot of these guys that you see here on this picture, they've gone. There's one still there at the front, and that's me. I'll go the other way. I'm just below, if you look below my shoulder here, that's me there with the dark hair, not grey anymore. There's Fritz van Eldik, he's still going. Second row up, second from the end, he's still going. He's the Canon ambassador now. I'd say there's probably about 3 or 4 photographers out this hall of them that are still going, which is incredible if you think about it.
Wow.
Some of them have sadly passed away.
Yeah.
Some of them have moved on to do weddings. Some of them moved on to do. One guy in particular, there's a Japanese guy at the front, three along. He works for. He works for the Japanese driver. What's his name?
Yuki?
Hideki, you know.
No,
what's his name? What's the Japanese?
I got it. I know whom you're talking about.
Japanese driver. I can't remember. No, I can't remember his name. I've got a mind blown. He drove for Jordan as well, so I know him quite well, but I can't remember his name. I've just got so much going on in my brain. But yeah, he works for him now in IndyCar. So yeah, there's a few guys. He still comes to a couple of races. No, don't worry. He won the Indy 500. I can't remember his name. It's completely gone
me
out
neither. I know whom you're talking about, but I don't remember his name right now.
I don't know if it's Hideki Noda or
No, it's not Noda. I was thinking that it's not. No.
Right.
It'll come to Sato. Takuma Sato.
Yeah, Sato.
IndyCar 500
You've created such an amazing set stone for the whole episode. I mean, I'm just all mind blown because you've set this up so well for us.
If you carry on from the flying fin, then you go to the certain images and moments throughout the different years. Even from the last year, with Lewis and Max. All right, you weren't always in the right place. I guess the right place would have been, the old first corner, Cops at Silverstone. If you'd have been there, that would be the crash. But because the circuit's changed, you don't go there anymore. It's not really a place where there's overtakes or crashes. But then there's the big crash of Max and Lewis. And that we did actually. Somebody offered me the photos from the crowd.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Someone shot it. So I ended up buying like 4 frames. They've got one shot. I posted it today on my Instagram. Well, I don't know. I didn't post it. It's within the same selection. I bought those from somebody in the crowd. But most times you tend to be not in the right place, or someone from the agency will get it. We've got 6 photographers at every Grand Prix, so we're going to get something. You'd hope. I was, I guess, in the French Grand Prix. I guess the Bahrain Grand Prix. There's quite a few races where I was in the right place, but there for the overtake. I think the best one probably was the French Grand Prix, where they were really close at the end. Those sort of moments. And then for Abu Dhabi, I was actually in a helicopter.
Oh, really?
Or not, for the whole race. So I had no idea what was going on.
Wow.
Absolutely. I had no communication.
This is interesting because we do have a section about this that we want to ask you about and what happened in 2021 Abu Dhabi.
Ask me some questions if you want.
No.
Going on random stuff. Far away as you like. I don't know.
All right. Then let's do this. Let's just sort of like formally introduce ourselves. No. Let's formally introduce ourselves. Get our audience into the groove. Hey, folks, this has been one of the best fireside starts that you've heard if you've been following us for the whole year now. No introductions here. You've heard the whole spiel here already.
What more do you want? Nothing to do with Formula One whatsoever. But anyway, it's a bit of fun.
This is a fun one. We are F1 Fanfiction. This is a banger of a start to Fireside series for season 2. There's no introduction required. We've got Mark Sutton as our host number 3 on today's episode. Thank you, Mark.
Hi, guys.
Hey. We don't see your face, but hello.
Hi.
Come on, say hello.
Hey. How's it going? We are your hosts. I am Akash.
And I'm Sarang.
And let's get into it. So, Mark, before we begin, right? Like
75 Grand Prix,
and almost a 4-decade career into being. So this is just mind-boggling numbers out there.
Yeah, nearly 40 years. To be honest, 40 years, because my first race was 93. So my first Grand Prix was 94, actually, but my first ever race was 93, as we said, with the Senna Brundle crash. But yeah, so Pyro, what was the first question? I missed it. Sorry.
No. There wasn't one, but let's start with one that at least Sarang and I have loved over the last season. Someone asked Lewis on like one of the Fridays or the Thursdays fan meetup that these guys do. So the question is, how are you, Mark Sutton? How are things with you? How are things going? You've recently recovered from COVID. How are you?
I didn't have any symptoms at all. I mean, it literally, my girlfriend's kids caught it at school, and then my girlfriend obviously caught it as well. And I was feeding them. Believe it or not, they were isolating in each bedroom, and I was just leaving the food outside. And eventually, I did catch it, but I didn't feel too bad. I had a bit of a sore throat, a bit of a headache, and that was it, really. I mean, I've got the double vaccine and I've got the booster, so I was very lucky, you know. And I did 8 days of isolation, 7 days or 8 days of isolation, and then came out because I had two negative tests, and I feel really good. I don't feel any after symptoms, and I'm ready for the season. My cameras are all in at Nikon for cleaning and checking, and they'll be back next week, and then the season sort of starts quite soon. I've got a couple of film days coming up with some of the teams, so I get to see the cars, but those images obviously are for the team, so they'll release them themselves. So so we'll see what's going on. But and then obviously we head to Barcelona at the end of the month. That's the first real running of all the cars together. So there'll be 3 days, 23rd of February, and then you can wish me a happy birthday because my birthday's on the 24th. So I'm actually working on my birthday, 24th of February. And
that's amazing.
I'll give you another bit of trivia. Who else's birthday is on the 24th?
24th February.
4 times world champion.
Vettel?
No. He's French.
Oh, he's French. Wait,
Alan,
this has to
Alan
be...
Prost. Alan Prost.
Same day as my birthday, yeah. Alan Prost, same day.
Yes.
And also, one other Formula One driver. He's from Spain. He's from Spain.
Alonso?
He drove for McLaren.
Alonso?
He drove for Arrows. He drove for... who else? He's Spanish. Pedro de la Rosa.
Pedro de la Rosa.
Right.
Also the same birthday.
Yeah.
And then there's one other famous guy, and he was the designer. Well, he was the one that owned this company I'm doing the computer on, and my phone.
Steve Jobs.
Correct. Same day. He's not around anymore.
Interesting.
He invented the iPhone. He invented Apple. So so there you go. Three famous people. But
So Mark, I think you were
Come on,
destined for greatness then, wasn't it?
Well, of course. I could have been a driver as well, but my career was more.
That was actually one of our questions, and since you mentioned it, let me ask that, because it's clear that you're, a big fan of motorsport and you are passionate about it. So was it ever an option? Like, did you ever think about becoming a driver?
It was never an option, really. It was always going to be that was a photographer, because you need to start at a very early age, sort of 8, maybe even younger, maybe 6 to 8 years old. You've got to start in junior karts. You look at the Formula One drivers and their kids are growing up. So like Robin Raikkonen now, he's at an age where he's in junior karting. You look at all the drivers that have come through, they've started at a very young age. I was already too old, to be honest. Actually, it's quite funny because my son became a swimmer, but he started at 10. So I think even he got penalised for starting too late. So just to give you an idea, he swam in the nationals in England. He was top 20 in the UK, but he just didn't start early enough. So actually starting at 6 to 8 years old, I wasn't going down that career path. So you need to have that input from your family or your wealthy. Tends to be the wealthy parents. But honestly, it's true. You look at Lando Norris, you look at George Russell, they've got very wealthy parents. I don't think that was the same with Lewis. His father was struggling with money. He was using old tires. He was using old engines. He was on the struggle, but he was found by Mercedes, and he was lucky he had that break. So a lot of drivers either have the luck and they have the skill and they make it, or it tends to be that there's money behind them. It's from the family. But I wasn't going that path. I decided very early on that I was never going to be a driver. I was just I was interested in the sport, and my actual hero was Emerson Fittipaldi. There you go.
Wow.
From the 70s. So
interesting.
And I've met Emerson quite a few times, and he didn't know, and I told him, and he's a really nice guy. Always signs with the number 7, believe it or not, which is quite funny because Mika Häkkinen was number 7 as well. So there you go.
Interesting.
So interesting. And my career was going more photography, and my dad was a keen amateur. He took a lot of pictures. He's got a beautiful picture of Mike Hawthorne from 1957.
Yes.
And he took it at Alton Park. It's a beautiful picture. But he was just a keen amateur, and drivers were more accessible back in the early days as well.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the stories where people were actually started pretending to. I remember this story of there's a guy that we bought the archive called David Phipps, and he just wore like a little lanyard and became part of a team. I mean, it literally no one even checked or knew. Now obviously security, we have a special pass, Formula 1 pass that we wear. You have to go through a swipe gate. There's lots more security.
Yeah.
But in the old days, you could easily mix in with the team if you had the nous to do it, or the guy, you could easily
just
mix with the team.
Fake it till you make it.
And he became a photographer, and he was a photojournalist. But now it's mainly photographers. But COVID has destroyed a little bit of the business. It's very restricted now. Hopefully this year will be more open. Lots more fans back.
Yeah.
I mean, the last races of last year proved that, America, we had 350,000.
Zanderwood was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mexico was great. Brazil, amazing. I mean, even in Saudi, there wasn't many fans in Saudi, but we had a great crowd. Abu Dhabi, again, full crowd. It was an amazing end to the season with all those fans back, and you could hear the emotion from the fans. That was the great thing. And that, you watch that final race in Abu Dhabi, you can hear the crowd screaming at the last hairpin where they had the crash.
Yes.
Sorry, not crash, the incident.
Yeah.
The incident.
The incident, yes.
The incident, Michael Massey. Anyway, the incident. We'll see what happens with the investigation. But I can't comment too much because I wasn't. I was in a helicopter. So
I was just going to ask you that.
I got
just about to ask you
to get out of that one. But I landed, came down, and then tried to get into it all to find out what was happening. But also then to actually go into all the problems. Obviously, we had all the people appealing and all the stewards, and we had to wait there till about 11 o'clock in the evening to take a picture of Max celebrating. And but it was great to stay. And even though there was only about 15 to 20 photographers left, because a lot of them got flights to go home.
Yeah.
But still, you always have this thing when they lift the driver up on the shoulders. There's always a bit of a fight between not fights because it's, it's what they call the elbows come out. All these guys here that are in the picture, they're all fighting against the same people. We work with them all year. And we have a bit of a what they call a bum fight, and it's all a bit shoulders at dawn are coming out, and everyone's elbowing each other and trying to get the best picture, and they're trying to get Max at the front, to lift champagne or whatever. They're trying to get the best pictures. I got some nice pictures, but at the end of the day, it's just the buzz of it's quite funny.
I
even remember back to the Button and going back before that to Senna and Schumacher and not the fights, but the battles we had with
the
all
battles.
the
Right.
It's all good fun, Most of those guys, excuse me, are still around. COVID, still around. I'm progressed on a bit again. But what was it? What were we talking about? Oh yeah,
no, about your racing career.
Yeah. So and then even my son started to work for the same company I did, doing social media, because social media's become a huge thing.
Yep.
I could just see the platforms growing and growing. And I took him to he probably won't like me for this, but I took him to a kart race at Milton Keynes to have a bit of a run, and he literally came out the pits and went straight into the tyre wall. Having driven it, and he'll hate me for saying that. And I knew at that point he wasn't going to be a very good driver, but he did pass his test at 17, like I did, first time.
Nice.
But when I took my test, I didn't have to take you have to take a written exam now in the UK. When I did it, there was no written exam, but he failed his written a few times and eventually passed. And
So because you mentioned this, I wanna go a bit like on a family route at this point, which is tell me about the knicker mat, because you mentioned your father, you mentioned your brother, and now you're mentioning your son. And what we've read or heard is there's this famous knicker mat in your family which has been handed down through your father to your brother, and then he gave it to you. So where is that at right now?
No, it wasn't a Nikon mat. That was the Pentax. Oh no,
okay.
Praktica it was.
Okay.
So the pictures I took with the Senna and Brundle, that was taken the Praktica. It was an very old camera, and then we went to Nikon. We had very basic Nikon kit, and then we got some nice Nikon kit, and then eventually, what happened was Canon did a partnership with Williams. Remember, it was on the back wing. It was a huge sponsorship deal. But what they started to do was bring a bus to the races that brought all the kit that you couldn't buy, and also did a service thing where they'd service the camera kit for you. So a lot of people changed because of that input from the camera manufacturer. So we changed then to Canon, and it was a great relationship for about 25 years. And then what happened was we had an agent in Japan who said that Nikon are looking to get into Formula One, and their avenue, they don't want to sponsorship anybody, but they're interested in making you an ambassador and giving you the kit, moving you across from Canon to Nikon. But also they want input. They want to see how they can improve the cameras, how they can improve the relationships with the photographers, how they can improve their servicing, and also to show what the percentage is. They wanted to know how many Canon photographers are, how many Nikon photographers at each race, because in each country fluctuates. It goes up and down. You understand? Because in Europe it can be, like in Italy, it's huge for Nikon, but small for Canon. In France, it's the other way around. So in different countries, it changes. In America, like for an example, in America, Nikon is huge, but Canon is smaller. So, and then you go to the Olympics, it's a lot different as well. So you have all these things. So they wanted us to be ambassadors. So we moved across. They were also paying us to be ambassadors. They were giving us kit every year. So we couldn't really refuse that deal. And I've still worked with Nikon now, Nikon UK and Nikon Europe, and I don't deal with Nikon Japan anymore, but my relationship with Nikon UK is amazing. I'm going to be testing in Barcelona. I'm going to be testing the new Z9, the mirrorless camera. So that's going to be amazing to test that camera in those beautiful light conditions. The early morning sunrise and the sunset in the evening, to see how they work. So, and hopefully we'll have access to the pits and access to go and shoot the drivers getting in the cars, and hopefully we'll have everything in Barcelona. We'll have to see. We don't know yet because it's all very vague at the moment. Obviously, at the end of the season, it was all open. But we've had the Omicron virus, and we don't know how it is in Spain. We don't know what the teams are going to want in terms of photographers. So Bahrain, I think, will be open because they have strict testing facilities in Bahrain. As soon as you land, you have to be tested and you need the vaccines. So, but Spain maybe is a bit more lenient, but we'll have to see. We don't know yet.
Spain's changed their rules also recently. I think day before yesterday they came out with the fact that you don't need a vaccine anymore or whatever. RT-PCR actually, sorry. You don't need a PCR report done to enter Spain.
So England's the same. today or yesterday we changed the rules. We don't need masks anymore. That's why I'm not wearing a mask. No, I'm just joking. So England's completely changed. Obviously, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, they have different rules. They can enforce different rules, even though they're part of United Kingdom. That they have different rules, and they've just relaxed theirs a little bit. They've not gone fully out like we have. I mean, to be honest, we're all vaccinated now in the UK, so really the symptoms in most cases will be mild. I think on public transport you still need to wear the mask, and obviously flying you have to wear masks. And certain stores, so the stores themselves, they can have a policy of wearing masks. That's down to them completely. So you still have to have masks with you just in case. But generally it's going to be a lot more open. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll have a full season with fans. Fans, we need them back. You know, especially in Australia. I love Australia, and the fans are so fanatical. You know, going to Japan again and Singapore and these races that we haven't been to for a long time. We need to go back to those races that we've missed for 2 years.
Certainly. I think one since we're on the topic of COVID, right? I kind of wanted to get this question in was, what has been your experience? I mean, everybody's kind of suffered in their own way during the last 2 years of COVID, but with traveling, going from race to race, and kind of being a photographer, how has the experience been? Dealing with COVID?
We've been very lucky, haven't we? I mean, we've been very lucky that we've almost been like, I hate to say it, we've almost been like Novak Djokovic, although he got kicked out of Australia. Because we've had special exemptions. Most countries have been very welcoming to the media. We've got to be very thankful to the FIA and Formula One, because they eventually decided to have a championship. They invited team photographers back. So our company as a whole works for 4 teams. So we were allowed 4 photographers to work within the team and 4 photographers to work outside the team.
Gotcha.
So that's what they decided just to bring in the beginning. And then also people like agencies, so like Reuters, AP, AFP. I think about 5 agencies were also invited. So you've got to consider that was only 25 photographers total.
Right. Wow.
No race by race passes, only permanent passes as well. So 10 working in the teams, and 10 only on the outside. That's it.
Wow.
And we had no fans. So we were very lucky, and they were very scared. I mean, you've got to remember, they didn't really know what was happening. We got tested almost every other day.
Wow.
Test before you go. And then obviously when the vaccines came in, we have to have the vaccines as part of the rules. And that became stricter in certain countries. And also each country was so different. And then all the paperwork we needed to print out, and then obviously to get back to the UK, we had to fill a locator form, a test on the day 2, day 8. There's lots of things we have to do, but people don't realise what we had to do. Right, it's part of our job, and I think we have to say thanks to the FIA and thanks to Formula One, because we wouldn't have had a job. I might not have even had a job, even though I've been so long. It's true, honestly.
That's true,
thankful. Obviously, I've got a job working for a company, and I work for Motorsport Network, but you've got to be thankful that we work for those teams and those sponsors. And obviously at the end of it, by Abu Dhabi, we saw probably about 50 photographers in Formula One, a lot more journalists and a bit more openness, completely the paddock was open. Pit lane still restricted to about 20, 25 people. Pit wall was back to normal, 10 photographers on the pit wall. And then generally around the track, you could go anywhere you wanted. So it was restricted. We had to wear the masks even around the circuit, which is honest. Is a bit ridiculous. And actually, I was walking around the track in, where was it? I was walking around the track in Saudi Arabia, and Michael Massey was coming towards me, and he said, Mark, why are you wearing the mask? I said, well, I thought we still had to wear it as part of the rules. He said, no, you don't need masks outside or on the track. Great. Is that the facts, Michael? And he went, yes. I said, right, put the mask off.
I don't trust anything.
So I had it from Michael Massey. Maybe he's there next year. But that was the rule from FIA, so that's what I needed. So
but then Mark, on that topic, Mark, I wanna ask something that we've also covered in a few of our episodes. Is if it's only allowed at those places, why is Toto not wearing his mask in the garage?
That's his rule. That's their rule, though, isn't it? I mean, I agree. But also Christian Horner.
Christian Horner
he
too.
wore a mask at all coming into the circuit ever.
Yep.
Well, I think he did maybe in the beginning, but his rule was that he didn't need it, and he didn't think he was going to ever catch it. So
fun one.
I've caught it. I mean, like the drivers, I could be like one of the drivers. I've caught it. I didn't want to catch it, but I think it's probably better to catch it off season than catch it in the season. So
of course.
I think it's probably just to get it good and get it out of the way. My I can't think of the word now. I can't stuff.
No worries about it.
It'll come out eventually. So I've got the best. I can't think of the word.
We'll go to the next one. So speaking of moving around though. But speaking of moving around though, right? Like I wanna know. So logistically, I feel like
antibodies. It came to me.
Okay.
Sorry, what's that?
Antibody. You've got your antibodies.
Oh, antibodies. Yeah.
Well, you got the most recent ones.
Two AstraZeneca vaccines, then the Pfizer, and then COVID antibodies. I've got everything. I'm probably at 99.999%. Okay, far away.
But speaking of logistics, right? Like I figured this is going to be a nightmare because I saw one of like Kim Illiam's video where he says he's back like a whole. Someone has part of the photograph crew.
You want me to tell you the truth about him?
What's that?
You want me to tell you the truth?
Go ahead.
That's your stage.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but he's a very wealthy guy. So he's coming to Formula One. He's not coming the hard way. He's coming the easy way. You've got to remember that I did 6 years of doing all the lower formulas, learning my career. You know, I started at the bottom from nothing, got to know people. I didn't buy my way in, which is what he's done. I'm not dishing the guy in any way. If you've got money, why not? But he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, I've seen him fly first class everywhere.
Correct. None of the photographers fly first class.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's going to pay us to do it, we'll do it. He's using his money that he makes for his company spend on Formula One. So he's taking business away from people. From people that have to, the people that is Formula One is their life. Formula One is their career. Formula One is their business. And he's taking possible clients away from them. So we don't know what he's going to do. He does his social media, which is fine, and that's what he's playing at the moment. But we don't know where he's going to go. If he starts taking clients from people and he's paid his way in, it's not really right, is it? It doesn't feel right. Look, he's a nice guy. He spent a year away from Australia last year. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, I saw that.
His wife came out to join him for a couple of weeks or about a month, and she had to quarantine. He had to quarantine. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of countries he had to keep going getting his visa because he was Australian. He was kicked out of a few countries because he had to go to another country to redo the visa and come back. So, I mean, look, he was staying in nice hotels. He's staying in first class. He's living the life. I mean, all on his own money. Most people are. The freelancers have to pay for themselves. The freelancers have to pay for all the flights, the hire cars, their accommodation. And I felt sorry for them really. I'm a staff photographer. My company pays for everything, so I don't fly first class. I don't fly business or even economy plus. I travel economy only. And I pay for everything. My cameras are paid for from Sutton days, and obviously I've upgraded my cameras. I've got the D6 now and a few other lenses, but I haven't spent a fortune on kit because things are tight. You may think that we're earning lots of money, and I mean, the company turns over a good amount of money, but we have things to pay for.
So what is in your kit? Let's get into that. Like, what's in your kit, and
then well, it's all in for servicing, so I can't show it you.
That's fine, but
that's fine.
All needs repairing. Every lens needs repairing.
Interesting.
If it's been hammered over a year. We used to have servicing at every race where they cleaned it and they checked it, but we don't have anything now. So we have to get it done either mid-season or the end of the year. So I've got the first lens I'll start with is a fisheye, believe it or not. So it's like my eye, it's curved. It's a 10.5 millimeter. So it's a really wide lens, but it's fish's eye, so it curves everything. It's not for everybody, and it's not a lens you use all the time. So, and then we go on to a 14, so wide, super wide angle, 14 to 24 millimeter zoom, f2.8.
Wow.
That's a beautiful lens, really beautiful. And I use that in Monaco a lot because you're really close to the car.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So it distorts the car a little bit, but it doesn't, it doesn't curve it like the fisheye does.
Yeah.
And then 24 millimeter to 70 millimeter. That's probably one of my favorite lenses. That's a nice wide angle with a sort of mid telephoto zoom. So 70 millimeter is not a bad little zoom, and that's 2.8. Excuse me. And then the prime lens, probably one of the prime and one lens I really, really enjoy is a 70 to 200. So 70 millimeter to 200 millimeter zoom again, f2.8. With this lens, you can add a 1.4 or a 2 times converter. So you can double the focal length all the way through. You lose one stop, but that's okay. And they've got a 1.4 Mark III Nikon 1.3x, 1.4x, sorry. It's beautiful. It's like an extra bit of glass that extends it to about 280. And then my prime lens is a 180 to 400 millimeter.
Wow.
And that actually has a built-in converter. So that I have an external converter for that zoom, but I also have a converter built in. So I've got a little flick button.
Okay.
I can put the 1.4 into the lens, either in or out, and it just flicks it.
Interesting.
But then I've got 560. It goes up to 560 millimeter, 5.6. So I lose a stop. But in most conditions where it's sunny, it's fine, And with the cameras nowadays, with the ISO, and you can go up to 3,200, 6,400. So you don't have to worry about it, really. And the D6, the Nikon D6 is an incredible 14 frames a second. It's unbelievable. And the autofocus is so quick. I'm about to order my second one. I had one last year. I'm getting my second one, hopefully, fingers crossed. So I've got two D5s, the older model, and it's an incredible improvement on that. So, and then I'll test the Z9 in Barcelona and maybe keep it for the first few races. I'll see if they want it back. I might just keep it between you and me.
So
don't tell
me,
how
do you get past airport security though? Because I figure with all of this, it's going to be a nightmare getting past airport security. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, I carry it as hand luggage because I want to make sure that it's safe and on the plane. So it does. Again, we need to keep quiet because luckily, most airlines are very good. British Airways, I try and travel British Airways because they have a policy where they don't weigh the bags. So they don't weigh your hand baggage. And actually, there's a policy really where it's unlimited weight. So I can carry my camera bag on the plane. It all fits in a very small Alpine Stars bag. So my clothing sponsor is Alpine Stars. It fits in a bag. Lengthways, 2 bodies, 2 other lenses, and then a few things on top with my monopod. The only thing I've probably got here is my monopod. Where's my monopod? I had it here before. So my monopod is where my long lens goes. So that's my monopod. That goes in the bag. So the bag's probably about that width. I even sent them the bag. So what I did to Nikon for the repairs, I sent them the whole bag in a box. I just sent the whole lot as I sent it. And so that's probably my kit. And I've got to carry one flash. Don't really use flash very often, but sometimes if it's very, very dark, like a very, very dark room, you need it just for that occasion. So I carry a flash. I've got my computer, my hard drives, obviously my XQD cards. The Nikons use a special card called the XQD that was developed by Sony. They're very, very quick to write, first of all, from the camera body to the actual card, but also to download. So that's the main thing, really, and that's all I need. That's pretty much it. And then you just need an internet line. Most races now, well, pretty much all the races, we've got free Wi-Fi or free cable at most races. So gone are the days where we used to pay £1,000 a race. Some races we spent £1,000.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
ISDN line, crazy, absolutely crazy. So those days have gone. Now it's all free internet. And actually, in COVID, one great little insight is one great thing is that you probably see I put a little bit of weight on, but actually the FIA had a rule where they had to provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner for all the photographers and journalists.
Wow. Okay,
that's nice. A little bit of extra weight on, based on eating too much, probably. But So that rule hopefully will continue.
Right.
Even if it's a sandwich or something. I don't really care about hot food during the day. Really, it's more about I can get breakfast at the hotel. If I have a snack, a pocket lunch, like a small salad or a sandwich. As long as you've got drinks, really soft, sugary drinks to keep the energy going. That's more. And then obviously have a dinner out in the evening with my colleagues, to talk about the day. Really.
Right.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So talking about sugary drinks that give you some energy, I wanted to ask
Red Bull versus Monster now, isn't it?
No. So my question was, how much do you actually move around during a race on the track? And I'm pretty sure with all the gear that you have, the lenses and everything, how do you manage it? Or do you carry all your lenses?
What about this one? This one's quite appropriate, isn't it? Like that one. That's probably appropriate for now, isn't it? Do you know who that is?
Yep.
Yeah,
of course.
obviously.
Boris Johnson.
Who can not know Boris Johnson? Yep.
What of this one? What about that one? He's a classic, isn't he, Boris? You can't get this. You can't miss Boris. He's a classic. I'll go back to the photographers. Hold on. I'll go back to a nice scene from San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
My favourite city. One of my favourite cities.
I used to live there.
Oh, yeah, going back to what did he say? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So, with all the lenses and the gear that you have, and moving around through the track, right?
Yeah. Ryan's awake.
How much effort does it take, as a photographer? Just
how many miles do I do?
Yeah.
I mean, it tends to be like with the new tracks. The new tracks are cool. He just goes mad. Nice curtain, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many miles do I do? So, to give you an example, at the new tracks, I always try and do a track walk. So Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Zandvoort, I did complete track walks of the whole circuit. So I go backwards. So you always go the backward way of the track. So you go against the cars, so you can see the cars coming at you. Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
So then you go and look at the circuit, but you also go and look at the left and the right of the barrier, where the holes are, where the fences are. And that can take probably about 2 to 3 hours to do that properly. And that's quite a long walk. And some of the races where they're a night race, I might do that twice. Because I like to do it in the day, but I also like to do it in the evening.
Right.
So generally on a Thursday we've got drivers arriving. So as you saw with Kim Illman, he's just copying what I do, really, basically. But he does the drivers getting out the cars, drivers arriving in the circuit. That's how he's made his name, basically. And then, obviously, then the drivers will go into the pits and paddock. We'll then go and do the press conference. I might go and do some technical pictures, but we weren't allowed in the pit, so we had to shoot them from the pit wall, which was a bit stupid, but we still managed to do it. Now we're allowed in the pit sometimes on a Thursday. And then you do your track walk. So it all sort of flows, really. Then also you might have to do the press conference. Now, what they did with the press conference, you probably don't know, again, a bit of an insight, is that in the early days, I did quite a lot of press conferences. It was 4.5 hours in the press conference room on your own with the driver. So it was you, a cameraman, and one photographer. And that, if it was me, it's 4.5 hours. Wow. And they'd come in their twos. You'd do 15, 20 minutes, and the next two.
My God, wow.
And we had to send the pictures on the back of the camera because those pictures were for the world. So the pictures that you took in the pool, it was called the FIA pool. So you did the pictures for the pool. I mean, they were pulled out. You understand? So you were under pressure. So I did Lewis when he won the championship in 2020. And that was a great moment to be in there when he was almost crying. And it was emotional, actually, to be in there. To do that. I didn't do Max this year, but I did quite a few of them again with the drivers, and it's nice to be in there. Some of them are great. They give you a great reaction. Some of them are giving the fist bump. I mean, some of them are really... I'll tell you who's a really nice guy. I don't really know Mick Schumacher that well. But he always came in when I was in there and fist pumped everybody. I mean, normally some of them come in there and just do Tom Clarkson, they do the FIA guy, they might do the cameraman.
That's
Mick
awesome.
Do everybody. Mick always did it to me as well, and that was really nice. And you see them in the garages as well. You see Daniel Ricciardo, you see Bottas, you see a lot of the drivers fist pumping all the mechanics when they get in the morning every day, because they've got to have that trust and relationship with the teams, and the mechanics are so important. Not even the engineers are that important, really. It's the mechanics. The driver has to rely on that mechanic for his life, really. He has to make sure that everything's correct on that car and done up and tightened to a certain point and safe, you know. So the mechanics are so important, and they work bloody hard. They work harder than the photographers and anybody in Formula One. I promise you.
Of course,
They will get. So if we do a back-to-back race, they will get the Monday off, and Monday is a travel day. So their day off is a travel day. So it's not really a day off. Then they'll arrive in the hotel. They'll have a lot of drinks. I mean, Monday night can be a drinking night. Just give you a secret again, but they deserve it.
Right, of course, yeah.
They've had to pack everything up Sunday night until like 12, 1 o'clock, 2 in the morning. Then get to the hotel, have a few hours sleep, get on the flight to go to the next race, and then have that one day off. Then they're in on Tuesday. Then they work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do it all again. So that's the triple headers, how tired they are.
Yeah,
the photographers, slightly different. We get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off.
Right.
We actually get 3 days, but if it's a new track, we might go to the circuit on the Wednesday, but generally we'll get 3 days off. So we aren't too bad, to be honest, but we do work hard. It's a long day. It's
still pretty hectic.
Generally a 12-hour day we work. I tend to get in early and leave late, but that's just the way I am. I'm passionate. I'm totally immersed in the whole thing of Formula One. It's not just about the racing or the pictures of the cars on track. It's about the drivers. It's about, like you say, getting shots of Toto without a mask, or him, you know, or Christian Horner, or Jerry Horner, or you know, Jerry Halliwell, or whatever she's called. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's the celebrities as well. It's everything that goes on. And obviously, when we started having the fans back, it was the fans in Formula One. So it's everything. Formula One and being a photographer is not just about cars on track. It's about everything, you know. And that, to me, that's how, if he's, you know, that's the thing with Kim Illman's great at taking the picture of the drivers arriving, but he's not necessarily so good at the action shots. He's not so good at being in the right place at the right time. You know, understand what I mean? So it's about, a photographer really in Formula One is about providing a whole package. Providing everything that goes on, showing that you can showcase everything that goes on in Formula One. And even if it's a fan in the audience or whatever, or the drivers doing the donuts, or team celebrating on the pit wall, or whatever, you know, or a different helmet. I mean, all those helmet changes that they get during the season now is crazy, because trying to photograph them is beyond, you know, it's bonkers. But yeah, that's the passion.
So tell me this, like, I was reading about this. Vladimir Reis once said that he usually tries to follow shadows, and he's looking for those colors when he's chasing a shot. But like, what is your mojo when you're trying to look for a shot?
Again, you've got in Formula One, like in probably most sports, you've got different photographers that do different things. Now, Vladimir is Red Bull's photographer. He's a Red Bull. He's what you call the Red Bull's own artist.
Okay. Right.
So he creates the artistic images really just for Red Bull. He's employed totally by Red Bull. Originally, he was employed by Getty, but now he's got a deal directly with Red Bull to provide artistic, sexy, doesn't matter what they are, just totally wacky pictures.
Right.
They don't really care, to be honest. They'll use anything that he shoots, and you can see him. When you see him on track, you think, what the hell is he doing? What's he doing there? You know, you just got to ignore him and just do your own thing. I try to be artistic. I try to be artistic and shoot slow shutter speed and get shadows and light, but it's not that easy. When you've got to shoot editorial pictures and sponsor pictures and team pictures and driver pictures and work for the circuit, you can't be an artist. And he's only an artist. He's creating artistic pictures all the time. Kim's doing his thing. Kim's doing the drivers arriving at the circuit with their girlfriends, whatever. Everyone's got their own different thing. I'm a sort of editorial stroke, media stroke, artist stroke, a bit of everything, as you could say, really. That's how I've always been, really, since the beginning. Obviously, shooting from film days, you know, you've got to remember I've been shooting a long time. I've gone film to digital. I've gone through the whole path of shooting, even both. At one point, we were shooting film and digital. it was crazy, really, it's crazy. And at one point, when Sutton's was one of the biggest agents, well, it was the biggest agency in Formula One, we were shooting so many. One race, to give you an example, we shot 500 rolls of film.
Wow!
I don't know what year it was. 500. But it's not just the films. The cost of the films, first of all, they're about £5 each. So that's £2,500 just on film. And another £2,500 to process. Then all the time of going through all those pictures. You've got to check every frame.
Wow.
I'm just trying to work out how many pictures that is. I'm going to work it out on my iPhone. That's 36 frames times 500. I mean, it's not a lot, probably. That's 18,000 pictures to go through with your eye. You remember that?
Oh my God.
So it's all changed from those days. And then we did duplicates. So we would pick a pack of pictures. So you pick your best. We started with 24. We went 48. Eventually, we got to 72 best pictures. And then we duped them, copy them 72 times. So we were doing like 6,000, 7,000 dupes on a Monday and sending them out by DHL all over the world. That's before digital. And that's how we got really big, because people were using pictures everywhere.
Yeah.
Double page spreads. And then digital came in and it changed it a little bit. It's not as artistic, really, but it is down to the photographer. It is, like you said, it's about choosing the light. It's about finding the right angles. It's sometimes staying a little bit later in the evening at the races because you need that golden light.
Yes.
I mean, I'm hoping that the new rules that they've got coming in with the 3-day weekends.
Right.
If you look at FP2, it's a really late session. If that is the truth, I don't know whether they've not announced anything yet. But the story's going around that there'll be a 3-day weekend. And FP2 will be quite late because they have to combine what was a Thursday into a Friday.
Into a Friday.
So they'll have to extend it a bit more. But the second session will be really late in the evening. So you've got 5:30 to 6:30 or 5:30 to 7 o'clock session, which will be incredible if they can do that.
The golden hour.
Golden light. You know, that light, the sun will be just setting beautifully. So we'll have to see. So we'll be creating some really sexy pictures. In Bahrain, we have that anyway, because when
of course,
we get the beautiful sunset lights and golden light. So we'll have to see what happens. But I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that we have that those new rules and we can go a bit later. We'll save some money actually. All the teams will save a lot of money because of course, hotel rooms. And maybe the mechanics will actually get another day off.
Yeah, and that would be awesome
in their favor because we won't need to go to the track till Wednesday probably. So they'll get Monday, Tuesday off. So actually, for everybody, it will work a lot better on a back-to-back.
On the topic of photography, one question I wanted to ask was to think about it. Like F1 is literally one of the fastest cars that are out there, right? And photographs are a still image as such, and it's awesome to think about, like, you know, even when I see photos, we still see the speed of the car somehow. It does feel like it. Oops, here you go. So how do you...
that's about freezing it. So you can either pick a fast shutter speed and freeze the action. A fast shutter speed, whether it's 500 to 1,000 to slightly more, you freeze the action. And that's nice. You know, that's what everybody wants, maybe in race pictures. But then you've got Vladimir, who'll shoot a 15th or an 1/8 of a second, and it blurs the pictures. So the car's necessarily going very fast, but because you've reduced the shutter speed, it looks like they're going fast. So he may pick a corner where it's a little bit slower, but he can reduce the shutter speed and make it look like it's really fast. So, most Formula One cars, I think the maximum speed is like 230, which is similar to an Indy car, but Indy cars are generally doing that on an oval, continually around that whole lap. An Indy car is quite difficult to shoot, except for it's on a banking, but it's quite easy to pan. I mean, also about panning, you can have a fast shutter speed on panning. If you need to get the tire mark, so we work for Pirelli, our company works for Pirelli. So Pirelli want to see the Pirelli sign.
Of course,
Or the Pirelli's blurred, and what's the point of that? So you need to shoot fast shutter speed. So anything above 1,000 will freeze that logo on the wheel. A lot of people don't like that. People like, well, the background looks like it's static. Like, is it moving? Do you understand what I mean? So you've got to keep everyone happy. So it's the same situation again about being artistic and being. You have to keep, but also, you've got to try and keep the sponsors happy. You've got to try and keep the team happy, and also editorially doesn't really. It does matter, but it doesn't matter so much. It's more about keeping those sponsors and teams happy, and then the drivers as well, because they pick up on the team's pictures. But, so it's all about the shutter speed. I'd say it's really about the shutter speed, and how you work with that shutter speed. I mean, I've seen people, you know, like on their iPhones, they'll go up to a corner and they'll they can take a picture by just freezing it, and you can do that. You literally can do that if you want. And how do you do that? You increase the shutter speed to something like 4, 5, 6, 7,000 of a second, and it will freeze the car, even if it comes fast. Believe it or not. So if you're shooting through a fence and you can't move it, you could reduce. Yeah, I've done it at a few places. So one example was, if you look at my Brazil picture of Daniel Ricciardo when he came back on the slowdown, or on the first lap, he came back, I just shoot it through the fence. I couldn't move it. So I thought, well, I'll try and get something. I'll whack the shutter speed right up, keep my finger on there. It's a wide shot. And as he comes past, I just kept my finger on the button.
Nice.
I froze it. You have to increase the shutter speed, and that's what a lot of rally guys. So when the rally photographers shoot on a remote, they'll whack the shutter speed right up to freeze the action when it's up in the air. They're not panning, see, so you can't pan it on a remote. So you're going to get, that's how it works. So there you go, a little bit of an insight. But so it's about shutter speeds, and I recommend that people experiment with shutter speeds. One guy contacted me today on Instagram and sent me some pictures, and I said, they just all look a bit static. You need to experiment a bit. Drop your shutter speed. Just because it's on digital, it doesn't cost you anything. Once
that's right. The camera,
what have you got? You got to do. All you got to do is put it in the computer and edit it. I mean, you can look on the back of the camera and see it. Most cameras now, my Nikon, you can look on the back at 100%. So what it will be on the screen, I can look straight away and see it and it's sharp. That's the key thing. And obviously you can put it into a computer later. But, just experiment. You know, what could you got to lose? When I was shooting the film, it was costing £10 each time. Roll. And most of them did go in the bin. You know, that's the key thing. You know, maybe 50% went in the bin. But as I got better, it became 75, 80, 90%. So you got better and better. The more you shoot, the better you get. It's like anything in this life. It's like, you know, think about George Russell now. He's come up from karting all the way through his career. He's got better and better and better and better. Now he's with the best team. Best team, second best team. We are the best team. We'll see how he competes, but he will be up there. He proved it at the testing. I remember even when he tested in Abu Dhabi for Mercedes for the first time, he was up there with Lewis's times. You know, that's the key to it. We don't know what tyres or fuel he's on. That's the
of course,
testing is very false, but you have an idea. You see a car on track, you know if that. I can see on track if a car's quick. If it's got the right line, it sticks to the road. If it's coming through that corner, bloody flat out quick, and it's grip. And I can see straight away it's a quick lap, even as a photographer. Shooting, of course, not watching.
So now that everything's gone digital though, but so how many? What's your click to print ratio now? Because earlier everything was print, but now how much do you print?
No, but you've got to remember. I mean, my colleagues say I shoot too much. My editors say it's probably true, but it's the fact of life. I'm probably like a machine gun. I'm always waiting for that moment. If you're not there ready. I mean, another example, the way my camera works is that the camera is always on autofocus. The camera and the lens together is always on autofocus. But I can manually adjust the lens. On the front button. So when I use the front button, it's not autofocus. It's autofocus on the back button.
Interesting. Great.
So if anything ever happens, I've got my back button to go autofocus immediately. The front button is manual, manually, but I've always got autofocus there. Because the lens will still work manually and with autofocus. And the way you can always set it up as well, if you're shooting slow shutter speed, you can set one button on the camera that gives you 500 straight away. So even if you were shooting at a 15th, if something happened, you can flick straight away to 500th on another button. So you've got autofocus on that back button. You ask any sports photographer, they'll be shooting the same. But you pre-set all the buttons, so that is autofocus, but on the back button, and it will still manually focus. So most of the time when you're doing a pan shot, you just focus on the ground and then you pan through. You don't need autofocus. It's just really for head-on, or for drivers walking towards you, or for certain things. You don't need autofocus for, say, the press conference. He's not moving, really. but he may twitch a little bit either side. It's more about hand movements. When I go to the press conferences, I always want to see a bit of hand movement. When a driver's just stood there, some of them are told, some media training is that they're told to put their hands there like that, because then they don't do this.
Right.
Yeah? Yep. So tuck your hands in and don't do any movement. But I prefer, personally, as you can see now, I've had a bit of media training. I prefer to see hand movements, whether it's like this or like that. You need to have interaction, and that's why I love sometimes about Lewis. He's got great interaction in the press conference. Daniel Ricciardo's another one. He's laughing and joking and doing crazy things. But some drivers never move their hands. They're just boring.
Kimmy's
gone. But I'm sure he's still loved by millions. But he's retired and gone. I guess the next ones to go probably Fernando. Probably Lewis. Those are the next two oldest drivers. I guess. Daniel's getting there as well, and
Vettel too.
Vettel, Vettel. Vettel.
Hey, speaking of Daniel, I wanna ask you this. So you've said this multiple times. You've got the famous belly flop image of him, But what I want to ask you is, you've said, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you camped out at that place because you knew this was going to happen.
We didn't camp out, but all the photography, So it's
in a way, but why did you choose that place? Because I've got your photo has all the photographers on the back, and you're the only one sitting this side. Why was that?
Because if you imagine, in front of me is the team shot.
So
I was in the middle. So the other photographers from my agency, one was at the back, one was at the side. There's four of us there.
That's smart.
So I'm next to the Red Bull photographer, Mark Thompson, who works for Getty. He shoots for Red Bull. I know he's going to get everyone looking at him. I'm next to him. I'm going to get it in. And then
smart move.
I think there was an Italian photographer who did actually get in my picture. He gets in our pictures a lot. Alberto Crippa. Sometimes you give him a bit of a smack in the head. But that's Italians for you sometimes. But Alberto Crippa gets in the picture a lot. And he's in my picture on the belly flop. I had to crop it a little bit. But so originally it was the picture of the whole team. And then people started jumping in. And then eventually Daniel turned up. And he just went to the edge. And I didn't know where he was going to go. You don't know where someone's going to go and do it. You could have done it in the middle in front of me. And that would have been a head-on shot. I might have not got it, but I was actually on I was on that 14mm I was on about. I was actually on that lens, so I've actually got Alberto Crippa in it. He's leaned forward as he does all the time. He leans forward into your picture to smack across the head, but the belly flop was just a sequence of pictures. Some people have got it at the back, some people have got it, and obviously. I posted that. Daniel loved it. I was working for Formula One at that time, so they posted it. And I thought it'd be a great charity picture. So I went to see Daniel 2 races later in Germany, and I said, "Would you sign it?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm going to do it for charity. Sign 5 for me because I've got 5 for charity, and then sign 1 for me." I said, "Just put a little comment on there." And he said, "To Mark," and went, "Belly flop." It's a great moment.
That's very in character for Daniel.
And also, my photographer, Manuel Goria. He's a great Australian photographer. He lives in Perth. He worked in Formula One for about 3 years with me, and he took Daniel's picture in Monaco where he stood on the car. And he's gone like that and it's full length shot, beautiful picture. And Daniel used it, but didn't credit him. So when he went to see him, it's like twofold, So when he went to see him, I said, "Oh, can you do one to Manuel, but can you also put a comment on there for me?" And he did one to, and then he put redemption. So it means redemption because Daniel sort of won 2 years before, shouldn't he? He had a missed pit stop and. That's redemption for that, but also redemption because he didn't credit him. And I told him the story about no credit, and he went, "Well, put redemption. It means 2 things." So he's got that. He signed it at the same time, so he's got that. I gave that to him, and then obviously the year later, the previous year we'd done the golden moment. The previous year, golden moment with Lewis next year. Lewis signed 10 of them. He didn't want the 5. I'd given Lewis 5. He didn't want them, so I got 10. So 10 of them signed to charity, which was great. And then the year after was the Max ones, the two Max ones.
With the blast off one and the spark,
yeah. So I've missed 2 years. So I need to bring them back at some point this year, hopefully. I mean, they've been signing some stuff, the drivers, but I didn't really want to push it.
But then, so
I want to bring that back. Yeah.
So you say that you've missed something, and on that note, the thought that comes to my mind is, obviously you can't be everywhere on a track when so much is happening. What have been your oh shit, I just missed this, I should have
regrets?
I'm not even sure to tell you.
Now we want to know more.
There's one really famous moment. Well, there's a couple of moments actually. No, but I'm trying to think which one should I tell. Going back to the moment where I was shooting film, and I was at the end of the race in Monza. It's when Christian Fittipaldi went up the back of I'm not even sure, it might have been Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi. Okay. He went up the back of him and went through the air like that, and then landed on the ground upside down, across the line. And I'm going to go in a minute. Anyway, so this is my last story, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Anyway,
no
so
problem.
I was shooting films. I used to put one roll in, and in those days you could shoot, believe it or not, without putting a film in.
No.
I
No.
followed the car, flipping in the air in autofocus, landed on the ground. An incredible sequence. I go, I've got the whole lot. I'm so happy. I'm brilliant. It's amazing. And I go to open the back of the camera,
and it's not there, man.
No film inside. Can you believe that story?
Lost opportunity.
So it's an amazing story, and one I'll never forget. But everyone makes mistakes. This life is about making mistakes. You learn by your mistakes. Your mistake was, don't have a camera where you can't put film in it. With digital now, you've got a custom function button where it stops you from taking any pictures if you haven't got a card in it. And that's nice. Sometimes happen. If the camera's been reset by the factory, it comes back to you. You shoot something. Another example, not my sequence, but one photographer that worked for Sutton's. He does actually work back in Formula One. He used to work for Sutton's. He was there in Australia. He put the camera down, and then Michael Schumacher came towards him in the Ferrari and barrel rolled in front of him. He went to pick the camera up. The camera gone into silent mode. So sometimes in the old days, the camera would go into silent mode. So it took him 2 seconds, about 2 or 3 seconds, for the camera to wrap in. The car had just hit the tarmac.
No.
This is the functions of the buttons of the camera, not reading his manual, probably. Like most men, they never read the manual. So there you go. So that's an antidote of go on, far away. Last one.
No, Mark, I know you have to go. Yeah, but one thing before we wrap this up, you've been through almost all F1 eras, 4 decades in this. Which one has been your favorite F1 era?
I think not eras, but because I try to do it year on, year out.
Okay.
I think last year was. I think my first year, 1992. Nigel Mansell's year, 5 Grand Prix he won, the first 5 Grand Prix. That was my first famous year. Flying Finn, 93. I'm going to carry on. Senna tragedy, Roland Ratzenberger's tragedy. So, I mean, to me, last year was just incredible. It was tense every race. It was one of the mind-blowing seasons of ever I've covered in Formula One. And I think that's what I'm going to stick by. Netflix is going to be just incredible. I can't wait to watch that.
Everyone's waiting for next year.
Was incredible, and I was just so happy to be there at every Grand Prix. And
awesome.
I'm really thankful to the FIA, Formula One, and to my company, Motorsport Network. And if you want to go and see any of the images, they're on motorsportimages.com.
Definitely.
And my Instagram, I'm going to get it in. At F1 Sutton, if you want to go and see my Instagram posts this year. I'm going to be more interactive at the track, still give you the the behind the scenes and talks through the circuit and things like that. So it's going to be great year. I'm not sure about Spa. I'm going to say I'm not looking forward to Spa and OB.
No one got a refund. No one got a refund. Oh man!
What have they done to my Eau Rouge? Oh,
yeah.
Anyway,
oh yeah, they're going to change that too.
But I'm looking forward to going back to Australia, to Melbourne.
Yes.
Melbourne.
Yes.
It always used to be great to go there for the first race, but anyway,
Yes.
it just works very well with Bahrain and the testing and everything.
Yeah.
So, it should be a great season. Miami's going to be
Miami. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to Miami. I think my kids are going to come to Miami for the Grand Prix if I can get them tickets. My girlfriend doesn't want to do that.
Sweet. On that note, Mark, this has been. Thank you so much
all
for doing this.
All the insights that you have shared have been awesome.
My pleasure, guys. Great to chat, and I'm looking forward to the new cars, the new season ahead. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Just keep watching my Instagram, and we're going to have fun. And we're going to hopefully watch this very soon on YouTube. Is it?
Yeah, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. It's gonna be everywhere. It's gonna be everywhere. It's gonna be everywhere. Yep. Yes. And thank you for hopefully a lovely relationship we've built with F1 Fanfiction and Mark Sutton. So thank you so much.
Have a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Fanfiction.